said, well, you can take mine, I don't need it anymore, I've had all the children I want to have, you can take mine. That would be putting both of us through a major medical procedure for the possibility that she might then be able to carry a child. In this country, of course, they've announced that they're going to do it with dead donors, with donors who've obviously, you know, as in typical organ donation, where somebody's been, whose heart's been kept beating. But still a major, you'd have to have your, if you've got your own eggs, you'd have to have the eggs removed and fertilised, you'd have to have the transplant, you'd then have to have the implantation of the embryos, you'd then have to have a hysterectomy to have this uterus removed after you'd had the child. It feels like a massive amount of medical intervention, and I know I'm not childless, so I can't put myself in the position of saying, do I think that's too much? But I think it's a question to ask, isn't it?
I think it is a question to ask, and I think that anyone who's going through a kind of struggle to have a family has to keep asking themselves that question at every point, whether it's how many rounds of IVF you'll put yourself through, how many miscarriages. You know, women put themselves, and their partners, and men as well, as a unit together, put themselves through so much in order to have a family. I don't think we can underestimate how the lengths that people will go to have a family. I don't think people do stop and do give up. I think they will keep going. And for some people, womb transplant wouldn't be an option. They would prefer to look at things like adoption or surrogacy. But for many women, I can see that ability to and have that control of the whole pregnancy within themselves in a way would be quite appealing.
Were you ever jealous of the surrogate who helped you to have your children for having the pregnancy? Did you ever feel jealous of her?
No, I was worried before I really got into the world of surrogacy and met surrogates, and before I met Jenny, I was worried how I would react, because I had found it very difficult to be around pregnant people for most of my adult life up to that point. I got very angry and jealous. But actually, because it was my children she was carrying, because I respected her so much, because we were so close, I didn't have a single negative feeling towards her at all. I just felt complete admiration and love for the woman who was doing this for us. I did miss having the babies with me. I got a kind of anxiety, if you like, from not being with them throughout the pregnancy, but that wasn't at any point directed towards Jenny.
Do we need to think about putting a cost cap on helping people have babies, or do you think that that's wrong? Our first caller this morning, and I think, you know, very smartly said, the NHS has limited funds. I think the money has been raised in some way separately for these first 10, which are clearly relatively experimental womb transplants. But if this becomes available on the NHS, we're suddenly massively increasing the cost of helping people. IVF in itself isn't cheap, but this would be much more expensive. Is it fair to say that there will need to be an assessment about whether or not this is worth the money?
Yeah, of course I think that's fair, and I think there's a dialogue in society anyway about funding for IVF and things like that. I mean, what I would say is that many of the people who haven't been through that pain of trying to struggle to have a family just don't understand how shattering it is. And you know, I think that it is a medical condition and there is a medical solution, and for me that would seem therefore that it should be something that is an option to be treated on the NHS. It's not something that is cosmetic, it's not to kind of make you look good or anything. It's a fundamental medical issue that causes quite deep psychological problems, and I think therefore it should qualify really. People are already having a huge amount of expense through IVF and surrogacy. Very, very few people are getting funding, especially for surrogacy in IVF. So the costs of having a family are just extortionate, and if you're not careful, you get a divide where it's only the privileged really who are able to go on and have their own families in this way. And I think that's something you need to be very careful not to make a market for these kind of services where suddenly, unless you have £40,000, you know, £20,000, whatever, you're not able to access this service.
Natalie, it's been lovely talking to you. Thank you so much for being there for us this morning. You raised some really fantastic issues. Thank you. Natalie Smith from Surrogacy UK. After the news, we're going to hear from a woman who hopes she may be the recipient of one of these first 10 womb transplants. She lives right here in Kent. It's 9:21. It's BBC Radio Kent. Don't go anywhere. Rose has the news, and it's the subject on Call Jules this morning. The first UK womb transplants that could happen next year, Rose.
That's right. Doctors have been given the go-ahead, giving 10 British women the chance to carry their own babies. Dr. Richard Smith from the Queen Charlotte's and Chelsea Hospital in London hopes to start performing the procedures in the spring. Detectives are hunting two men who robbed a house in Dartford and stole a luxury car from the driveway. They broke into the property in Birchwood Road in Wilmington between 10 and 11 o'clock on Friday night, threatened two victims and made off in a white Jaguar with a designer watch and cash. They were both tall, wearing dark-coloured clothing with their hoods up and faces covered. If you have any information, you're being urged to contact police. 5 people have been sentenced to death in Mumbai for taking part in a series of terrorist attacks in 2006. Nearly 200 were killed when a number of bombs went off on trains. And Dartford could soon be patrolled by a team of uniformed litter wardens, issuing fines to those who drop rubbish and don't clear up after their dogs. The council currently spends £1 million cleaning the streets every year. The proposal's out for public consultation until the end of October and could be introduced in January. Now with weather, here's Kate.
High pressure still dominates our weather for the next few days, so more blue sky and sunshine. Today's edition is a brisk easterly breeze, making it feel perhaps a little cooler along the coast, but elsewhere feeling warm at 17 Celsius. Dry and clear overnight, hanging on to the breeze. Minimum temperature 10 Celsius, and for tomorrow, more of the same. Dry, fine and sunny, temperatures up to 16 Celsius.
Travel news from BBC Radio Kent.
We're still really slow on the clockwise M25. It really hasn't eased off at all between 2 and 3. There was an accident much earlier on the exit slip road at junction 3 Swanley down onto the roundabouts. It's still very heavy, and the back of the queue, as I say, is at junction 2 on the clockwise M25, that is. The M2 and the M20 looking okay. A21 still very heavy northbound from Pembury up towards Tunbridge through the widening works, and it's still slow into Tunbridge Wells on the 264, as seen on the speed sensors. Really slow also on the A28 into Canterbury. We're trying to find out the reason why it's so slow from Storey Village all the way in towards the city centre in Canterbury. CCTV confirmed that queue that I can see on the speed sensors. And the A20, a line of lorries in the left lane heading into Dover. It's all because of the continued disruption over to Calais. DFDS say delays of 2 hours and 50-minute delays for P&O sailings for operational reasons over to Calais this morning. The next travel is in 20 minutes.
On 96.7 FM in Sevenoaks, Minster and Chatham, and 104.2 FM in the East.
This is BBC Radio Kent.
Good morning. Thank you for your company. A fascinating subject this morning. We're talking about womb transplants. We're talking about whether it's ethically sound, whether the cost is reasonable in the future for the NHS to bear. And more importantly than anything else, we're asking, do you know what it is like to be desperate to have a baby? The number on Call Jules is 03459 811111. That's 03459 811111. You can also email julia@bbc.co.uk. Guys, you can call us too. We know that it affects you, and we know that you will have something to say about it as well. Have you watched your other half go through rounds and rounds of IVF? Maybe the problem is with your sperm rather than with her physiologically. How do you cope with that? How do you relate to each other? How do you have a happy sex life when all you can think about every single month is this going to be the month? 03459 811111. Have you decided enough is enough? You can't keep going, you can't keep paying, and you can't keep paying with emotion as well. I'd like to hear from you today. There is a new breakthrough, a new opportunity for some women. It's specifically an opportunity for women who were either born without a womb, and you just heard from Natalie, who has MRKH. She's one of the 1 in 5,000 women in the UK born without a womb. But of course, women lose their wombs as well through disease like cancer. Their wombs can become terribly compromised through fibroids and have to be removed. So it may be that you've had to have a hysterectomy. Did that happen before you had completed your family? 03459 811111. I'm now going to introduce you to a woman who is hoping that she might be one of the 10 women who are offered a womb transplant. Her name is Lauren, and she lives in Medway. Hello, Lauren, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
What makes you think it might be you? Tell me your situation, Lauren.
So I was also, just like a lovely lady from Thursday UK, I was also born with MRKH. I found out at the age of 15, actually about a month before my 16th birthday. So obviously I was born without a womb. So I do meet the criteria that currently stands for the transplant. So obviously I am hoping that I'll be one of the 10 that does get picked. But again, you know, there is a lot of women that have gone for it. There is a nice wide criteria, and it's only a small percentage, so it's going to be about 10.4% out of 104 people. So we just got to hope, got to carry on hoping.
We spent a lot of time hoping that things were going to turn around for you, things were going to change, there was going to be an opportunity. Is that what life's been like?
I probably spent it's been 10 years, it was 10 years this year from when I found out. And I'd say it was easy, probably for the first couple of years. You know, you're young, you sort of have other things on your mind. Family's not a priority at that point in your life. But the years have got harder, and you hope and you dream and you hope and you dream, and it's continuous. And yeah, there's not a day that goes by when you don't think, right, come on, it's got to be today. They're going to release it today. It's going to happen. It's going to come to the UK. You know, I'm going to get that chance. So yeah, you do spend 99% of your time, if you're not thinking about it right at the front of your mind, it's always there at the back.
How badly do you want a baby?
I'd give up everything.
Does it actually physically hurt you, the amount you want a baby?
Yeah. Sorry.
It's all right, Lauren, please. I'm so sorry. The last thing I wanted to do was distress you when you've got this hope. You've got this hope in front of you. Let's hang on to the hope. But
Yeah.
I just want people to understand, people who've never been there, and I've never been there, I've been very close to somebody who is, just that this isn't a vanity thing, that this isn't, that for people like you, it's worth risking, and there are risks here, aren't there? This is a new and invasive procedure.
Yeah, there is big risk, and I mean, I've read some of the comments today that have been posted under the articles on Facebook, and that, you know, saying that it's a waste of financial money from the NHS now, but actually what they don't realise, this has all been funded without the NHS's support, and these trials will be funded without the NHS. And what they've also got to remember, unless they've got someone that's been through it or they've gone through it themselves, they'll never know the impact it has on your life.
Tell us a little bit more about MRKH, because like probably almost everyone listening this morning, this is the first time I'd heard of it. So you were born without a womb, but do you have your ovaries? Do you have the possibility to create your own eggs?
Mm-hmm. So MRKH syndrome is a congenital abnormality, and it can be present. It's not just the absence of the uterus, it can be parts of the vagina, the cervix, and obviously the uterus itself. It affects 1 in every 5,000. It can be associated with kidney, bone and hearing problems as well.
Right.
Now, the ovaries are usually present, and they do normally function the same way as every other woman by producing the eggs and the female hormones that obviously keep us healthy.
Yeah.
The chromosomes, they are all still normal. That's 46 XX female karyotype. Everything else is normal. It's just the abnormalities of the vagina, the cervix and the uterus, and unfortunately some girls obviously have problems with their kidneys as well.
Right.
Apart from that, it doesn't have any other side effects. You know, you don't have certain medication every day. There's nothing like that comes along with it. It's just the emotional side of it that really hangs itself over you a lot of the time.
So for some people there are other health considerations as well. For you it's all about fertility. So in order, the womb transplant would just be the first part or one part of the journey. You would also presumably have to have IVF because they couldn't attach the womb to your ovaries, so you wouldn't be able to conceive naturally with this with this donor uterus. So,
no, there's no way of that.
So you've got to go through your IVF as well, basically.
Yeah, so what they will do is the womb will obviously be transplanted into you. They'll then immunosuppress you with medication for 12 months. But prior to doing this, they will be freezing embryos to make sure that there is obviously healthy embryos there ready to implant them when it comes to the time of the womb being settled. With regards to obviously the IVF, I mean, that will work the same. It'll be the same testing. Obviously, you have to take the medication to produce extra eggs for them to obviously be able to test. Now, with regards to obviously the birth as well, again, you can't have a normal, but it will be by C-section. So they don't want to put the wombs under pressure, obviously with giving birth naturally.
Yes.
So there is obviously a few things that we still won't experience, but you still get the whole, the going to the scans, it's you yourself. You get the kicking of the baby, you get the horrible things that everyone knows about, the morning sickness, everything we want that they don't want, basically.
So for you, a lot of it is experiencing pregnancy as well as having a baby. It's being pregnant. It's going through that process.
Yeah, it is. I mean, obviously we know surrogacy is available to us, like you heard. It doesn't come at a nice price. You're looking at about 9,000 starting. That's about if people have got to pay a surrogate. Fortunately for me, I have got a sister who, if I am not one of the ones that's chosen for the transplant, my sister Kelly has kindly offered ever since day one to actually be a surrogate for me and Matt. Which we are really lucky. But as I said to my sister, I said to my family, I really appreciate that, and I snapped her hand off at the offer. But when someone's giving you a chance to actually still be able to carry your own child, it's really hard to actually say no to giving it a go.
How does Matt feel about all of this? Is he absolutely on board?
100%. Has been since day one.
I mean, it'll be hard for him watching because you'll be the one going through all of this if it happens. And if it doesn't, I mean, you both go through it together, but in terms of physically, he can only stand and watch, can't he?
Yeah, and I think sometimes they get a bit more of a ordeal really that way, because they're ones that have got to stay strong. They've got to be there. They've got to go through it. They've got to deal with us being the grouchy ones, screaming and shouting at them when everything's not going to plan. And even if obviously we start taking hormones, we're the ones that are going to be grouchy than what we are at a normal time, because obviously I still get obviously hormonal due to my ovaries still producing hormones. But they're the ones that take the brunt of it, really. They try and carry the whole world on their shoulders for you. And I mean, Matt does that obviously a lot with the fact that I do get down. I have my bad days when it comes to my condition and that, but he never shows that he's stressed by it or, hurting by it, because obviously he's there to support me, and, that's how we get on. We just take every day as it comes.
When did you first tell him that you couldn't have children?
Literally within a week.
That must be a really interesting decision to have to take, because you must think there's no point telling someone unless you're pretty sure that they're someone you really like and there's a future. But you also have to tell them quite soon, so you don't feel that you've tricked them in some way?
Yeah, it's really hard actually. I've got a support group online, and a lot of the girls are always on there like, I don't know what to do, but I've also got a perspective. Obviously, I had very good feelings about Matt, but I've also got a perspective of, you take me for who I am and what I am. There's nothing's going to change. It doesn't define me as a person. It doesn't make me no better of a person. It doesn't make me a bad person, so it's a bit like, this is what's wrong with me. If you're going to support me, you support me from now. And if you're not going to, then there's no point at all. Because this is never going to go away. It's with me for life. In the future, it's unpredictable.
When will you find out if you're one of the first 10?
That's what we're waiting to know as well. We want to know that as much as everyone. I'm actually one of the admins for the Womb Transplant UK Facebook page, and I'm inundated with messages saying, when's everyone going to find out? Do you know who knows? We know nothing. Dr. Richard, he's fantastic and that, but they're keeping us in the sneak as well. We know nothing. So yeah, even Neil won't tell us anything. Our lovely PR management, he can't tell us nothing. No one can, because no one knows, unfortunately.
Will you cope if you're not one of the 10? What will you do?
it's a really funny situation. It's a bit like at the moment, it's like I don't want to get excited. You don't want to bring no excitement into it, because to get up on top of a hill to be dropped from that height, it's going to be rubbish. I think I'm lucky because I know I have my sister, I have the full support of her and my family, and obviously Matt, and I know I have got that chance at surrogacy. And again, like I said, I've never turned it down. I'm not saying that it's not an option, because it is a very high option, but it's that carrying the child, you know, not having to go through the legal side of surrogacy, you know. It's, yeah, I think I'll have it a bit easier than some, because there is some people out there that have not got no chance of finding a surrogate and spending £30,000. You know, because once you have surrogacy fees for the actual mother that carries the baby, you're looking at thousands. And people haven't got that sort of money, you know, and unfortunately for them, womb transplant is their only hope, you know, but, yeah, it's really hard. It'll probably crush me to pieces, but I also know, you know, that there's thousands of other women out there that haven't had that chance.
But these 10 might not be the only 10 if it works, if it's successful.
Exactly.
I mean, obviously then in order for it to be available on the NHS, it has to be a consideration about the cost versus the benefit. And I don't know if you have thoughts on that, about whether or not you can imagine a time in this country, we're living still in times of austerity, where people will say this is a good use of money.
I don't think anyone can judge until they've stepped into our shoes. I really don't. I don't think anyone has the right to judge whether the money should be spent there or not. You know, look where money's spent. You've got these people that apply for, like, their breast enlargements. You know, people moan about that. No one's ever happy where the money goes, unfortunately. No one ever seems to be happy. But whatever it is, no one is ever happy where the money goes from the NHS. And that's just how I see it. I've never seen one story about the NHS go online about them funding something or someone having treatment that people haven't complained about it. So you're never going to win. You're never, ever going to win.
What are you going to do? Just sit and wait? Are you going to pester the surgeon, who, I mean, you know him by his first name? What do you do now? Just hold your breath and hope it's you?
I am going to live on the hope that I've lived on for 10 years. Is what I'm going to do. I'm going to live on the hope that I live on every single day. You know, and that's all you can do.
Is there an argument that, as well as living on that hope, there has to be a part of you that starts thinking about whether you could have a happy and fulfilled life without children?
I try not to think about it. If I'm brutally honest, I try not to think about it.
Because you don't think you could?
No, I mean, I'm very lucky. I have two very beautiful nieces that actually, I got to be there for when they were born. My sister was very good. She basically let me, I acted a bit like a surrogate mother to them. They think that they needed doing, my sister would allow her to do, you know. When my sister was around and I was there, she'd still let me do everything, you know. She gave me a very big part in the girl's life. So they take up a major part of my life, you know, and they hold one of the biggest spaces in my heart. So I think, knowing that I'll always have them, if it doesn't work, I've still got them. You know, they're not going anywhere. And I'm still going to love them unconditionally. So actually, having them girls in my life sort of takes that. I don't have to think about it, because they're not like nieces to me. You know, I've done everything with them. You know, I've been there for every stage of their life so far, and I'll continue to do so. And I won't let something like this take that away either. You know, I won't hold it against them or my sister or anyone, because that's what unfortunately can happen. You know, you take it out on everyone else around you, and I won't let that happen. I'm thankful for having them, to be honest. So, and sometimes they're enough.
Lauren, thank you for talking to us today. It's been so enlightening to listen to your story, and I really do wish you and Matt all the best.
Thank you.
Bless you. Thank you very much indeed. Lauren in Medway. This is BBC Radio Kent. What do you think about womb transplants? Do you think this is a good idea? Can